nothing can separate. Even if I ran away, your love never fails. I know I still make mistakes, but you have new mercies for me every day. Your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. The wind is strong and the water's deep, but I'm not alone here in these open seas. Your love never fails. The chasm is far too wide. I never thought I'd reach the other side. Your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. Work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. All things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. 'Cause you stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails.
Good morning. For those who don't know me, I'm Joey. I'm the worship leader here. Still switching things up again, just putting you on your toes. That being said, if you're able to, can you stand as we continue our worship service?
Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken hearted, rescue again. sit at the table. Come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come. Oh, you're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are, fall in his arms, come as you are. There's joy for the morning. O sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are.
King of my heart, be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my soul. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my soul. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, never gonna let, you're never gonna let me down. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, 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 you're never gonna let, you're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let, you're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let, you're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let, you're never gonna let me down. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. All this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? Could a garden come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make
seated.
Good morning, everyone. Ooh, hello. Good to be with you all on this beautiful spring morning. We are in week 2 of a sermon series that we're calling Your Story Matters. And we have with us Amy O'Neill this morning, who was really kind of the architect. Oh, all the way down. So kind of the architect. Am I back on, Tony? Okay. The architect behind this sermon series. So Amy, as we said last week, we had a number of people approaching us saying, like, I feel like God's calling me to share my story, but I just don't know what to do with that information. And then Amy came up and said, God is giving me kind of a vision for a sermon series. Like, oh, that's a good answer, like, for that. Could you kind of walk us through what was kind of going on when God was speaking to you, and why do stories matter so much?
Well, thank you. Thank you for this
sorry, of course,
opportunity.
yeah.
I'm so grateful that we had volunteers to be a part of this. I'm a history teacher, and so I am drawn to stories. And stories take us from isolation to community. God wants us to love real people, not perfect people. And you can spend a lifetime searching for a perfect church, and you're not going to find it. But we are called to love imperfect people because that's what God would do.
So true. So welcome to an imperfect church.
Yeah.
And we like it that way. Only perfect one is Jesus here, right?
That's right.
So, Amy, could I ask you, because when we met a few months ago, you were bold enough to say, and I have this idea, but before I ask anyone else to go, I would like to share my story. So I really heard your story first. Would you mind sharing your story with us this morning?
Yes, thank you. As a child, I dreamt about my future as a mom and a wife, and by my mid-20s, my dreams came true. I was married and had 2 daughters, and I started to write stories about my family life, quirky stories of our adventures, and one even included a caterpillar, raising a caterpillar to a butterfly. However, one story of parenthood haunts me, for I am broken. The story of the estrangement of my firstborn daughter. I'm pained by the present ending, so I hesitate to tell the beginning. But I know that 1 in 4 American adults deal with some form of estrangement in their life. So maybe hearing my story will help take away the burden and the shame that might be in your life. I've never met someone so strong-willed as my eldest daughter, Casey. And that's not to be confused with our wonderful Casey who told the story last week. I used to humor myself when she was a toddler and say, she'll make a great adult, because she had the determination and confidence at such a young age that every parent would want to see in their adult child. Her name means brave, and no other moniker would do. I embraced the challenge and privilege of raising a strong-willed, brave daughter. Yet bravery can be followed by defiance. As she got older, when anyone challenged that defiance, she'd cut them out of her life. I wasn't the first, and I wasn't the last. In the fall of 2017, in the heat of an argument, she raised her voice with conviction and told me, "You are not my family." When I took a rare stand, and I was against her and her stubbornness. And that was the last day I saw her. Grief has many stages, including anger. A year into the estrangement, I decided to write a letter. I need some water. And as I was writing this letter, I needed an outlet for my anger. And there was a phrase that just kept coming up, and it was, hold on to the good. I wanted her to understand that people aren't perfect and that we can choose to hold on to the good even when people disappoint us. That phrase, hold on to the good, wouldn't come out of my mind, so I decided to do what anyone would do logically, and I Googled it. I found that it was from 1 Thessalonians 5:21. So I grabbed my Bible, a Bible with gold-edged pages, a book that had been touched by dust more often than my hands. I opened it up, and it was right there on the very top of the page, on the very first page I opened up to. Hold on to the good. I burst into tears at the power of God in the midst of my pain. I knew that my story was not over yet. A few hours later, I went back to the book. I wanted to understand the context. And so I went to the previous page. And my Bible is a Bible that is a red letter edition where the red letters are the words of Jesus. But nothing could have prepared me for the red letters on this page. You see, I had written in my Bible 10 years prior. I know it was 10 years prior because I was still teaching in a classroom at that time, and I would have used a red pen. I had underlined verses 16 through 18. Be joyful always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. And next to be joyful always, I had drawn a line in the margin. And in the margin, it said, Casey, with a happy face. My impression of my 11-year-old became my saving grace. Be joyful always.
So you have this profound moment with God, that he had set up this moment 10 years prior. Hold on to the good. Be joyful always. Continue in prayer. Where are you now in your process with Casey and your walk with God in this painful season? Where are you currently in all of this?
Thank you. About a month before the estrangement happened, Casey and I went to a concert, the Lumineers. It was great. And they have a song called Stubborn Love. And the lyrics say, it's better to feel pain than nothing at all. For the opposite of love is indifference. I am so grateful for the pain because it shows that I love my daughter and continue to love my daughter. Mother's Days can be tough sometimes. Some have been better than others. On her birthday, my husband and I usually eat a vegan meal. Since the estrangement, she's gotten married and has a young son. He's 5 years old, and a month after he was born, my husband and I planted a tree in the front yard in honor of him, and we do something special to think about him on his birthday each year.
But you've never met him.
I haven't.
You've never
I
met
haven't. But one of the things that gets me through is to be grateful for what I have here. I have 3 more grandsons in Kettering and a daughter and son-in-law. And I'm so grateful that my husband has walked alongside me in this. Something like that can challenge a marriage. And he's been able to be vulnerable with me and say, yes, tell your story. Because I know that me telling my story is also telling part of his story too. So thank you. I acknowledge that God's plan is perfect, even if I don't understand it. I have more empathy for other families who are broken and an understanding where people may feel joy and loss around the holidays. I understand that some of you might see me as, oh, she's the one that has the estranged daughter. But I hope seeing my story will help you realize, oh, she's the one that's broken, but she's still choosing joy and love. And maybe you can choose that too.
That's beautiful. I know, Amy, we just celebrated Easter, and on the Passover meal before Easter, there's a moment in the meal when you take the sweetest thing on the plate and the most bitter thing on the plate and you eat them together. And it's a reminder that the bitter and the sweet of life are often mixed together. And just as you were describing that, I was like, how often is that true of us with God? That we have this sweet presence of Jesus in the middle of our pain. It doesn't always take it away or solve it, but he's with us. Thank you for sharing your story, Patrick. Thank you for being a part of this. Can we say thank you to Amy and to Pastor Rick, and just thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. So it's at this time I'm going to invite Christy to come forward. And so we're doubling up this week. No communion this Sunday, so we're going to be able to double up. And Christy was one who heard the announcement that Amy had put together this video that we were going to be sharing stories. And as we were talking, even just a few minutes ago, you said, I didn't even know where to begin, with sharing your story. And then you met with Amy and you were able to share it and help you process it. So first of all, thank you for coming up here. I think I speak for everyone when I say it takes tremendous courage to sit in that seat. It's the most comfortable seat in the house because it has armrests, which is a nice way to do church. But it takes tremendous courage to come up here and share your story. So I just want to begin with, in your family, it kind of goes all the way back to your childhood. In your family, you were considered the firstborn, and you were saddled with a lot of responsibility. Walk us through your childhood. What was that like?
Well, first, let me thank Amy for meeting with me early on so I could get my thoughts together. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I was telling Kim earlier that I couldn't do this in any other setting, so thank you for that. I was raised by a single mother. My mom was an alcoholic, so she worked, slept, and drank. As the oldest child, I often was the babysitter, the mom, the keeper, and my brother is 5 years younger than me. So early on, I had to be...
How old were you at this time?
I was 7 or 8, and my brother was 2 or 3 when I was in charge of watching him. And I was telling Sam about, I distinctly remember shoving a rocking horse in front of the front door because it was late. My mom was a waitress, so she usually worked late. And just having that fear if anybody came to the door. So that created a very independent, stubborn child that I, kept that with me for a long time into adulthood.
So you grow up, you're 7 years old, and you're not only watching a 2-year-old, you're holding down the fort, for lack of a better word, and you're not exactly in a gated community where this is happening.
No, we grew up in a very poor part of Ohio in a trailer park, so not a lot. We didn't have a lot to begin with, but dealing with those kind of things. It was back in the day when WIC delivered, thank goodness. So we had our necessities, but that was pretty much it.
Okay. You go the next 10 years or so, and you get to be 17, and something happens at 17 that changed the trajectory of your life. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, my mom put her hands on me. This wasn't the first time, but this was the worst time. And up to this point, I had never fought back. I'd never hit my mom, and I wouldn't. But I imagined that I could. So at 17, I left home. I couch hopped. I finished high school, thank goodness. I ended up meeting a couple of police officers, a couple that I knew from high school. They took me in, taught me some of the errors of my ways. I was very stubborn, very independent. So I think I spent a lot of time after that being, in turns, angry and indifferent towards my mom, towards my childhood, those kind of things.
So you were able to finish out high school. Thankfully, you have someone who kind of steps in as a parental figure, but you're working through trauma. You're working through some betrayal of this is the person who's supposed to be a caretaker. In many ways, it's just not happening. So as an adult, you continue to grow, you continue to see your own path in life, and you do what many of us do, and you try and take control of your life on your own terms. How'd that go?
Hindsight, when several years ago, I characterized my late teens, early 20s as just this constant pursuit of sin or salvation all the time. All the things that were popular, the things that are supposedly supposed to make you feel better, feel good. I even did some of the good things, therapy, medication, talking through my childhood. But in all that, something was still missing. And I found my way here. And one of the first sermons that I heard was Sam talking about, was God in the van, SUV, in the van. So how we often will let God into our lives, but we still ultimately want to have control over what direction that is. So we kind of put him in the back seat and tell him what exit to get off on. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm doing that all the time. And I think I grew the most, I grew the most later, but I grew the most when I realized that I'm not in control. Those coping skills, those strategies that helped me survive my childhood were no longer useful in my adult life.
So you kind of come to like almost the end of the survival instincts and they're not working any longer. When you say you were running to sin or salvation, you're just looking for, as I understand us talking, you're just looking for something to deal with that hurt.
Yes.
Is that true? Like,
yes, I wanted to be happy. I wanted to, I didn't even know what that looked like. I felt, most of my life felt meh, not terribly unhappy, but never happy. And I was just kind of tired of feeling that way.
like what's going to cause you to thrive? And so
Secret, it's God.
yeah, that's that's right. It's Jesus. Put it on a bumper sticker. So you have a moment with a pastor. I wrote it down. It says, God can do more with your surrender. This is so good. God can do more with your surrender than you can do with your control. And that really sinks in deep, and it changes your life because your mom gets sick, if I understand correctly. About this time you hear this, and you have this moment with God where you're kind of driving, and God starts talking to you about this process of healing with your mom.
Yes.
Can you walk us through what was that?
Well, let me
What's that
set,
like?
I'll
Yeah,
set
yeah.
it up. Or I was at church. I was in the back. I was praying with Steve, and I was telling him that my mom is sick. My mom got cancer, and I'm the only person that can help, make decisions, those kind of things. And I was praying with Steve, and I said to Steve, I desperately want this. I want to do this not out of obligation, and that's what it feels like for me right now, more than anything, an obligation. So then I'm in my car, I'm driving down Dorothy Lane, going into Moraine, going home, and God tells me very clearly that I have to take care of my mom the way she never could take care of me for me. And that
For
hit me
you.
for
Like for your healing.
me, yes. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I, since then, have never been more content, more happy, and more in the frame of mind that I got this because God has me. That's why, not because of something I am or I did or I survived. I have all the things that I need and can do because of God.
That's a sermon series right there. But you're allowing God to flow through you. Like you have tapped into the great lover, like the one who is the source of all love. And it's not out of obligation as you prayed, but you're like, because I know God, I can go, in many ways, kind of go back and love my enemies and
Yeah.
love them well. Now, you had God in your life, and unfortunately, it's not always a silver bullet to like just make sure everything goes better, but it's,
Yeah.
you have Jesus. So life didn't get smoother, but God was now in control. So what happened next in your story?
I think with the the few months that my mom was towards the end of my mom's life, we, between my son and I, had totaled 2 cars. My house flooded. I was having all kinds of issues at work. My mom was dying. I was in battle with some of my family members who questioned the choices I was making for my mom. And it was just a lot, but I felt so supported from the church. You guys helped me out financially. You helped me out through prayer. And we made it through. And it was unbelievable. I took stock so many times of how good my life was during probably, arguably, the worst parts of it. October 2022, if anybody is curious, that was a rough go. But I had it. God had me.
So kind of like up to that point, you had said life had been kind of meh. Mm-hmm. And then it actually gets worse and somehow better at the same time. Like kind of anything but meh.
Yeah,
Like
God knows how stubborn I am. He knew.
Another sermon
he's
series.
Like, just so you know, this is me working through you. I want to make sure you heard me.
Absolutely.
I heard.
So when we were talking last week, you described that in that moment, just this peace you had. Can
Oh
you
my
talk to
goodness.
us about that peace?
Like nothing ever. I used to say, I have this, but I was never sure. I had it because I had to put on a brave face because I had to. I was also a single mom. But I never knew for sure if I had it. I cried at night. I put on the brave face. I did all those things. But after that, when I say I have it, I know I have it because I have the best backup you could have. And so in any problem, anything that comes at me is manageable, and probably on the other end of it is going to be a good thing. And I've never been more sure of that after the passing of my mom and those things. We had some good moments towards the end too. So
you got some closure, you got some healing, and you carried Jesus with that, or rather, maybe he carried you through that, and
Yeah.
however you want to look at it, like
Yeah.
it's so wrapped together. But now it was so fun to talk with you about where life is now, because professionally, you have done some incredible things with your career. Can you talk to us about how God has kind of guided you in your professional career?
I'm a social worker, so I work at Daybreak, which is a youth shelter. We work with youth that need housing, deal with all the barriers to that. So I really found my way back to working with people in poverty, kids that feel that they have nothing, and am able to help them see that they have the brightest future that they can imagine. So I do that, and a lot of my volunteer stuff is with Chevy Chase. I love Shoes for the Shoeless. I think Amy helped me realize, I didn't even really realize how I was drawn to those kind of things until we had that discussion. But that's really where my heart is serving people who need it the most.
Because that's a journey you've walked, and I still think it's the funniest part was someone sat down with you in your office and they just said, I like your vibe. Like,
When an 18-year-old tells you in your 40s that they like your vibe, it's awesome.
yeah. But I think the authenticity probably just radiates off you. You're just like, listen, I was 17 once.
I've
I
been
couch
homeless.
hopped.
I've-
Yes.
I've
Like,
had one pair of shoes. I know what it's like to feel like you have nothing, and so it is. I appreciate that she likes my vibe.
it is so amazing that you can look someone in the eye and say, you can get through this. And you know, because you got through it. And there can be hope and thriving on the other side of it. And it's just so amazing, Christy. I was floored when I was just hearing your story on the phone. I was like, oh my goodness, like, what a beautiful storyteller, guys. Like, who'd have ever thought at 17?
When I was sitting out there and I heard about it, I'm like, no, you don't want to tell, you don't want, I was arguing in my head about it because I knew that I needed to tell it.
And I just think I speak for so many when I'm like, if you might be in the middle of your 17-year-old version of that chapter and you just don't know what God can do with this on the other side, that often our greatest wounds, our greatest hurts can be our greatest contribution, our greatest strengths in many ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think of that verse in Paul says, like, my grace is made perfect in weakness. Like, in our weakness, he is strong. And he is so strong in you, Christy. And it has just been such an honor to hear your story. Can we say thank you to Christy and to Amy for hearing their story? So at this time, we're going to invite the band to come forward for kind of a closing song. But I do want to invite you to take a moment to just sit and maybe reflect as the band is coming up for where are you in your story? God is the God of the universe who created everything you've ever seen, you've ever tasted, you've ever touched, you've ever smelled. He's Father, He's Son, He's Holy Spirit. But we also believe that He is the great author, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And you might just be in the middle, and you have no idea. Maybe life is meh right now, or maybe life is chaos right now. Just as we close in worship, maybe just allow your heart to wonder, where is God writing my story? Where is He making something that seems like worthless or seems like there's no good that can come out of this? How is He going to make something beautiful out of your situation? Let me pray for us, and then we will stand for worship. Jesus, we thank you that you are the storyteller, but you wrote yourself into the story, that the story of the world is about you, that our story can find healing and redemption and completion when we know the storyteller. We had no way to get to you, just as Hamlet could never get off the page and meet Shakespeare unless Shakespeare writes himself into the story. And you've written yourself into our story. Give us eyes to see, ears to hear how you are speaking to us, how you are guiding us this morning, what it is you are doing, where you are taking us. It is your name we pray. Amen. Once again, Point Church Choir, I invite you to stand as we close in worship this morning.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies till all my fears are gone. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. And I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. And I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. And I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. And I'm no longer a slave to fear.
kind of mixing things up this morning and for this series. I'm going to invite you to take a seat. We're going to walk through just a few things that you can do to respond as you hear the courage, hear the stories from Amy and Christy this morning. We're going to put the QR code up. The QR code is going to guide you to a place where you can do a Connect card. On that Connect card, you can fill out a comment that just says, thank you, Amy. Thank you, Christy. Your story resonates with me. If God is stirring something in your heart from hearing it, we had such an outpouring last week for Casey's story, and I know that just was so kind for her to read those comments. So if you just want to leave a comment, a thank you for Amy or Christy, please do so on the QR code. We'll get that to them, and what a blessing that would be for them to read back how it impacted you. But again, on that QR code, if there's a place at the bottom for prayer requests, if God is stirring something in your heart where you're like, oh my gosh, that's my story. I didn't think there was a way through that. I didn't think God could redeem this. I thought, was kind of normal, and that's what all God was capable of. If he's just stirring something in your heart, just write that down, and our team will pray over it, pray over you. We just want to partner with you to feed the fire of what God is doing in your spirit. In addition to that, our word of the year as a church is connect. We never miss an opportunity to connect because we live in a disconnected world where you can have as many friends on social media or be in a crowded room and no one really knows you. There's a great way that we are able to connect with one another. And honestly, it kind of requires getting down in the dirt, pulling some weeds, but sharing some jokes, getting to know one another. That's why we do a cleanup day. That's why we do things like, I think we can put the next slide up, for cleanup day is on April 20th. You just come out here and you're able to just make this place look beautiful. It's a way of showing hospitality to anyone from our community who comes in. It's a lot of fun. Bill's Donuts is always provided. We're taking down a big tree, which is kind of cool if you've got little kids who want to watch that, or if you're a little kid and you want to watch that, that's cool too. But it's just a great opportunity, again, to just get to know somebody, to just work alongside another person. It's a great opportunity. So mark your calendars for April 20th. The last thing I want to mention is if you are new to our church or you've just been kind of checking it out the last few weeks, we're so honored that you're here. We're blessed that you came this Sunday to hear stories from people inside our church. There are no perfect people here. The church building did not fall down when you walked in. So please, you are so welcome. You belong here. And we want to give you a gift as a response for you coming. Just go check out the blue iPad station out there, and we will just give you a gift. And we just want to say thank you for coming, for joining us. So if you're new here, if you're just checking the church out, not really sure about Jesus, we're happy you're here. At this time, I invite you to stand as we close in a blessing this morning. May the God who is the author of all stories, the God who is Alpha and Omega, the God who is beginning and the end, the God of Genesis to Revelation, who knows your story. He knows your past, he knows your present, he knows your future. May you, in the words of Oswald Chambers, let the past rest, but let it rest in the sweet embrace of Christ. Trust him with your present. Allow him to write you a beautiful future as you trust him more. Grace to you, peace to you. We will see you all next week.
Make it wider and stronger till it's too tall for us to touch.